Unfinished business. Framework for action. A four-pillar approach to Vancouver's drug problems. Just before I call the vote, I'd just like to say it's been an interesting journey we've been on the last 3 years. We started with an international symposium in June 1998, and we suddenly formed this great team that all started to come together and move forward. Can I call these all together? The recommendation A, of course, is the Council adopt the revised framework for action. Question on the motions as a whole. All in favor? Contrary? Carried unanimously. Okay, thank you very much.
When we proposed the 4 pillars originally, people, number one, didn't understand why the mayor was taking that on. And he didn't have to take that on. But the biggest opposition was a public relations battle where people saw it as a criminal issue and not a health issue. Well, for his 9 years in the mayor's chair, the media, largely for 8 of those years, didn't understand him, and usually when they wrote something about him, it was a negative, and he didn't care. My father lives by, and as I do, a quote that is, "Your opinion of me is none of my business." And he knew in his heart he was doing the right thing. The support was there from the right areas of not only government civically, but people have to remember how rare it is to get civic, provincial, and federal governments to sit down and agree on one issue. And it rarely happens, and it happened here.
But when I learned that St. Paul's Foundation was raising money to support the creation of a professorship in Philip Owen's name, I knew that UBC had to be part of it. I believe that Mayor Owen was a visionary who pioneered a novel approach to addiction in Vancouver, and he helped to lay the groundwork for the evidence-based approach to addiction taken by the BC Centre on Substance Use today. Mayor Owen has also made remarkable contributions to the way we approach addiction in not only Vancouver, but throughout BC. This professorship shows UBC's commitment to furthering addiction research, education, and training with the St. Paul's Foundation and Philip Owen's friends and colleagues to honor him through the creation of the Philip Owen Professorship. And we look forward to the road ahead with the Philip Owen Professor to continue Mayor Owen's legacy by educating care providers and ensuring that compassionate addiction care is always provided.
I have enormous respect for the leadership provided by Mayor Owen during an incredibly challenging time. It took both personal courage and political courage. He led our city and this province in a direction that was largely unpopular. But he was convinced by the leading research and the evidence, definitely. But I think he was primarily driven by compassion and the empathy that he felt for the people whose lived experience had so damaged and challenged their lives and the lives of their family members.
He knew in his heart he was doing the right thing from the get-go. Friendships were lost, support was lost, it didn't matter. You know, to say as mayor that this is not something that I should be taking on was not enough. It was not acceptable. Status quo was not acceptable. And in the end, he discovered that he had more in common with the Dean Wilsons of the world than with the people he, in fact, had been growing up with all his life.
The professorship in Mayor Owen's honor was really inspired by where we are in this opioid crisis, not only in BC, but across the country. And I think his vision of what was about to come, or where we were when he was mayor, was really very profound. And it was a real honor to work on something that recognized his work and his dedication to something as critical as the opioid crisis.
My goals with this professorship are to continue to advance the field of substance use and addiction medicine, to close the evidence to practice gap for patients so that they can get the treatment they need on demand anytime, and to make a real difference in people's lives and improve health of Canadians ultimately through a better addiction treatment system.
Donors inspire others to give, and there's been some lead donors on this professorship that have really inspired others to stand up and make a statement to support this approach that we're taking towards overcoming this opioid crisis. Another thing I think donors do is they start to inspire provincial and municipal and federal governments to see that there are a strong group of community-minded leaders and members that really feel there is a solution here. And so what it does is it starts to leverage some of the provincial and federal money that can be put towards the opioid crisis.
One of my father's heroes was his grandfather, who was the warden of Ocala Prison. And as a young boy, my father would walk the grounds with my great-grandfather. There were no shotguns, there were no guards, there was no one in tow to protect them as they walked amongst the prisoners. My great-grandfather called them all by name. My father learned a valuable lesson, that nobody in this world is below dignity, regardless of their station. And that's a lesson that he taught me. And so as we walk, if you ever dare to, downtown East Side, these people deserve dignity. Our society doesn't afford them that at this point. And I think if there's a legacy that I could say is if we could turn around on that and public opinion. But my father's history was always to respect his fellow man, regardless of their station.